أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is the second review session of Denial, a class taught by Sheikh Yasir Qadi. We will be going over Surah Yasin, ayat 7 through 30. And we may go up to 28, and then in the next session we may do 29 and 30 onwards. We'll see how this goes. What I will do is I will open up these slides, and inshallah I'll allow you to pause your videos and read through the meanings, and I will add in commentary that is not on this slide so that you can get that information along with the translations that you can see on the slide. So from this ayah onwards, we start seeing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the haqq, about the truth. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically says that He has put around their necks what He refers to as chains, that these chains are these are the kind of chains that forces their chins to go upward. If you remember, Yasir Qadi talked about the camels that he's explained when in class, and he said that when the camels drink water, they take the water in their mouth and then they raise their head backwards a few times to make the water go down their neck. This raising of the head backwards is basically what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing here for them, that they have been placed to these chains in their neck, and their chins are so high that they cannot even look at the truth. They are basically, their faces are jutting upwards, so they cannot see the truth that is in front of them. And then Allah also says in the next ayah, ayah number 9, He says that we have put a barrier in front of them, behind them, and we have covered up their eyes so they don't see. So basically what we're looking at, that these people cannot see, look, or move, and there's total immobility. There's just complete stiffness there. And this can be metaphorical as well. Basically this is a reference to the people who are so arrogant and do not even look at the truth, even though it is right there in front of them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here in these ayat is criticizing them for their arrogance and their lack of desire to follow the truth. These ayat also came because the Prophet ﷺ was feeling a little disheartened by the fact that the Quraysh were not responding to the message of Islam, and he ﷺ felt as though he was not doing a good job. And so this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consoling the Prophet ﷺ that it is not his fault, but it is their fault, because the sirat, the straight path, is right in front of them, but because they are looking up like those camels and they're not looking at the truth, they cannot see the sirat. So no matter how much they are called, they're not going to be following the truth. And so basically you can see their ignorance in these ayat. Ayat 10 through 12 basically describe the matter of qadr. And there's a very, very interesting concept of qadr that we spoke about in class, and we had a brief discussion about it, that Allah's qadr has a hikmah, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that for guidance, for hidayah, you have to have two things. And one of them is that the person has to be wanting hidayah. So the person should be asking for it, should be looking for it. He wants to find the truth, and so he will be guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second characteristic was that even when people are not looking at that person will still act in a good manner, and he or she maintains taqwa in their heart. And if they have taqwa in their heart, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide them. They will be guided. And so this is basically this whole idea of forgiveness and generous reward is consistent in the Quran, because you cannot get to Jannah without first being forgiven. And so these ayat are also talking about forgiveness, and they're talking about maghfirah, and ajran kareem is basically the generous reward, the huge reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for the people who are guided and who want to be guided. And moving on from those onto the ayah number 12, the idea of ayah number 12 is basically that everything is being recorded. And so there are two meanings there for recording the footsteps, recording the traces and all things. One of the meanings is, of course, the legacy that is being recorded. So did you teach your children good? Do they have the, are you getting the sadaqah jariyah from them? Did you build a masjid? Those are the legacies that is being recorded even after you're gone. And the second meaning is from the hadith of Banu Salama, where each and every step is physically being recorded. And so none of it is being wasted. Everything is being recorded and everything is being remembered. And some of the benefits of these ayat is that, especially when you look at Surah Yasin and the ayat 1 through 12, and because we're at 12, I'm going to talk about it quickly over here, that, some of the benefit of these ayat is that they are emphasizing the Risala of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and, and then again, resurrection, that just like our bodies will be resurrected one day, our deeds will be resurrected as well. So everything is remembered, everything is, recorded, and that emphasis on the recording of everything is a reminder that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rewarding everyone and also holding everyone accountable for every single thing that you do. That is one of the common things in these ayat. Once we begin ayat number 13 till the 27th, this is the story of the people, and this is the part where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an example, and he talks about the story of the people of the small town or the small village, and almost all the Mufassirun say that this village is the village of Antioch. This was a very famous city. It used to be in ancient Sham or Syria under the Roman Empire, and today it is on the borders of modern Turkey. And the reference here is that the followers of Jesus Christ were going to the city of Antioch and preaching the message of Isa alayhi salam. And Antioch is one of the first cities where Christianity spread, and where one of the first churches was built, and this is also the main place where the Jews resided. So this story is also available in the New Testament as well, and there are some similarities and some differences, but essentially the story is there as well. By giving the example of this story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually consoling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, because he is talking about how the previous messengers and the prophets also had to face similar accusations. And in this story we find out that that this is the time of the Roman Empire, and the messengers who came basically tried to guide the Romans, and that was not very successful. And basically they were threatened that if you don't get out of here, we will stone you with a severe punishment. And this went on until, and in the next ayah we can see that and some of the lessons, and we'll talk about the lessons of these ayah towards the end. But essentially a man came running from the furthest part of the town, and he was from them, and he basically said to them that, "Oh my people, follow these messengers." So one of the lessons here is that it doesn't matter where you are, sometimes help will come from the most unexpected places, and the story talks us about that. And one of the things that this person said was, "Why don't you, oh my people, why don't you obey these messengers?" And he gave two very logical reasons for for obeying them. Those reasons include the fact that he was not asking for money from them, and basically by money the idea is any reward, and there was no gain for preaching for them. So basically they questioned him, and this man was obviously a Roman, and they got so angry at him, and because he was one of their own, they basically they attacked him and they killed him. And in ayah number 26 and 27 we could see that the man was told to enter paradise, And it's his sincerity is so apparent here, because when he's entering paradise, he's still thinking about his people and how he wishes that they knew that what the benefits was of believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of the interesting parts about these ayat, about this story, is that the Quran uses multiple ways of giving dawah, and stories are one of the main ways. And obviously there is also a continuation of discussion about the rewards, and sometimes the threats, and the and the accountability, and these are all a process of dawah. And the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam basically took 23 years of dawah. He gave dawah for 23 years. And so dawah is a slow process. It can be a very long process, and there are different styles of dawah being discussed here. And we also understand how that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually consoling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam through these difficult times. And from the benefits of these ayats, you can also see that if you put in work, you will always find helpers from the most unexpected places. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send you help. We notice that the torture and the dying of this man is not mentioned, because and this is how strategically beautiful the Quran is, and the messages, because the Quraysh were not given that incident so that they could gloat over it or get ideas that, okay, we can kill someone. So the point was that it was more focused on not how the man died, but essentially how he entered Jannah, because that was the moral of the story, and not his death. And as you move on, in the next few ayat, from 28 through 32, we see that the shift happens in the tone, and basically now the Quraysh are being directly addressed, and they are being given a direct threat that this is what happened to the people of who did not believe that man. And again, there are I'll let you read the translation of these ayat by yourself, because this session is a little long, but please go through the notes as they give you more specific literal word-to-word meanings and a discussion about many things about those ayat. But do remember that this part is a threat, and a direct threat, and a direct response to the Quraysh themselves, the ayat number 28 through 32. So once again, the exam is on March 4th, and it is from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Inshallah, the next session is coming up. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.